say? I'm sorry.
Just kind of at the top of the a moment, I had a real nice note about how when the teacher's finishing, and copy that on that parchment, the best shall be hung from the hook on this wall. They have a very small lingering shot where all the kids start, or all the chimps in particular, start going back to their tasks. And Cornelius himself just kind of pauses and looks at the teacher for a second, kind of blinks his eyes for a moment. And I really thought that was a really nice lingering moment to give that actor that cue or direction, like he's thinking about what the teacher had just said to him. I thought it was nice.
Well, I think a lot of the way it's shot, we completely see the distance of which the gorillas are sitting from the teacher. They're not as involved in the classroom. They're standoffish. So then the chimpanzees are close and, like you said, are inquisitive or are engaged. I think the entire shooting of the scene is really good. The handling of teacher, again, where he speaks almost in biblical terms, is just beyond odd. It'd have been interesting if maybe he was a preacher, if he was a preacher before and he could be a priest. He could be wearing his, whatever that thing is, whatever you call the little collar, be very beat up by all these years later. But still, it's just kind of odd to give him that way of speaking to me.
Yeah. Going back on this time travel thing, the orangutan says, "Can we tamper with time?" And that would be a good segue into letting us know more about what has happened to the world and why they would want to tamper with time.
Well, yeah, I was going to ask, is this a Chekhov's gun where they're setting up something having to do with time travel at the end of the movie? Otherwise, why would they be discussing time travel now?
Right.
Our teacher's name was Noah Keene. Let's see if he is no longer with us.
Oh, good. I was going to look him up, yeah.
He died just this past March at the age of 98. He had over 98 screen credits, including, toward the end, he was in The Sopranos. He was in Charlie's Angels, Love Boat. I mean, you start getting into, of course, he was in $6 Million Man. Just the litany of what you expect from somebody working in the 70s and 80s and 90s, the Waltons. So, I mean, the dude worked nonstop, and he's not bad in the role. It's that question of the writing of the role. And to Sean's point about the time travel, are they setting that up? And if not, what is the purpose of why it's here? Again, it's nothing more than to make someone smart. And that's everything I understand about screenwriting is when you are intently trying to make someone smart and it's just an effort to make them smart, it is like the worst offense you can do in screenwriting.
Well, you had said last week that, this, or maybe the week before, that this, movie was kind of written for kids. Mm-hmm. And so now I'm watching these moments. This is a classroom lesson that's being taught, right? Mm-hmm. We now have a theory to make kids kind of think and wonder. So now I'm watching this movie like in the same way that Doctor Who is written for kids, right? It's a kids television program that adults enjoy. We're going to hopefully enjoy this movie, but really the lessons themselves are about kids. So of course there's a random lesson in here about, hypothesized time theory, because it's not really written for us to delve deep in. It's just a lesson dropped in there for kids to go, oh, okay, cool. That's interesting. I'm going to start thinking about that.
That's an incredibly good point, and you've just ruined this movie for me because Doctor Who, like after Matt Smith left, I can't watch anymore because it becomes such gobbledygook, and it's just like, it hurts my head. It's like, oh, stop all that, and now you've ruined this movie, so I'm going to keep hearing Doctor Who throughout it.
Well, Doctor Who, I love Doctor Who sci-fi. Love it. In the same way that I like these movies sci-fi as well, but mm-hmm. There's a point where they're just kind of babbling about nonsense.
Yeah.
Just to kind of get you to think about science fiction, and that maybe that's what's happening here.
Those techno babble.
Yeah.
To be very, very honest, I love Doctor Who too, as long as it had Tennant or Smith in it. After that, I'm kind of like, I can't do it. So, and I want to be fair. You alone did not taint this movie, because you watch 11 minutes of this movie and you're already like, oh Lord, you can tell how cheap it was made. You can tell exactly what you said. It's made for children. It's speaking on that level. And that is, as a parent who has seen so many movies with my kid when she was little, there's nothing worse than that movie that's speaking to the child and not asking the child to come up and speak at a different level. It's just like,
that's who Aldo is as a personality. He's being a child.
But right. I find him interesting, and when we get to really some of his actions, I had that note too. There's like, good Lord, he's like a 3-year-old child, even in the way he speaks. but I like that. That's good. But the adults should be speaking at a level that's a little above that, but the children watching it aren't disinterested in what they're saying. Because okay, if you took a 6-year-old to see this and Virgil's talking about going back in time, do you think one of those 6-year-olds is really latching onto that? No, they're going, huh?
No, but you might get a 10-year-old or 11-year-old to pay attention.
Well, Sean, you're 10. How did you react to it?
Well, I kind of agree with Aldo at this point. I mean, it looks like he's trying to write on like moist paper that's all foldy up. I'd be frustrated too. And then his pencil breaks. He's not. Come on.
Is that in this minute when he breaks the pencil? So it's interesting. They actually had the moment in the script. They had the pencil break moment before they went to Virgil. In this, they cut out to Virgil for some reason, and they come back to the pencil break moment. It was a little odd little choice of editing to switch those two moments.
As I was looking back to watch the pencil break while you were talking, Richard, there's also right before we go to Aldo and his frustration, the orangutan that's with Virgil and the chimpanzee does a very odd smile where you can see that the actor was just going, but because of that, it pulls the makeup back and it literally, it looks
like it looks like his lower lip is trying to eat his upper lip.
And he looks incredibly perverted almost. Like he's like, oh, it's very creepy looking.
Well, the lines themselves, they have the couple of lines they say, what premise we accept, but Virgil, can we tamper with time? They have those questions going back and forth between the chimp and the orangutan, but because of the way that was shot and they're done in voiceovers, I couldn't tell who was uttering each line. I was like, okay, somebody's saying something. Was that the gorilla? Was that the chimp who said something, or was that the orangutan who said something? I couldn't quite tell.
Yeah. All right. I think that's just about it for minute 11.
Well, hang on.
You got something?
Real quick, yeah. So if you pause it at 57 seconds in, it does say ape shall never kill Abe. So you can tell what the mistake is before we get to the next minute. And so we don't know if that was a deliberate one or an accidental one. I guess we'll find out tomorrow.
I guess we will. I think that's a tease for tomorrow. And with that, I'll say, everyone, get out, interact with us on social media. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, @Men of the Apes. We'd love to hear from you. I know Sean would. Sean, have you gotten an email in a while?
I don't believe so. I don't know.
You can find you can go to our website and you will find our email there. And if you don't know this about our lovely friend Sean, when he's not sitting in front of pictures of his dog Nala, he loves to read email. Send Sean an email. Tell him what you think, your thoughts. Maybe it's your thought on time travel. Would you go back in time and change your performance? Let Sean know. He wants to know. Richard and I, we just want to move on to minute 12. So for Richard and Sean, I'm Todd. Everyone have a great day.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
The minute of the apes. The minute